you. We'll call this workshop to order. This is a workshop just to kind of go over what goals we might have for this coming year. And basically I'm going to kind of leave it as kind of an open discussion as far as what people have for ideas, and go from there.
I guess for me, since we had a lot more new selectmen on here than we've had in the past, I would kind of like to know what they are for agendas up there. So we get them all on the table, we know what we got for agendas, and that way there we can decide how we want to deal with them and move forward. Because in the end, we may not always agree, but we all got to work together. So that's what I'd like to know.
No, I'll go. I would ultimately like to see is us being able to discuss the school budget on the town floor. I don't think that's too much to ask. And I think it should be done at the town. Whether we do the ballot in June or not, I think we should be discussing the school budget. A $2 million rise in our school budget in 1 year should be talked about.
So, yeah, that's a good goal. Unfortunately, we can't have it on our regular town meeting floor. There is already a school town meeting prior to the vote in June. It happens typically middle to the end of May. It's usually on a Wednesday night, and it's a town meeting format, but all three towns are invited. Any resident of all three towns are invited to attend. Unfortunately, Durham's attendance at these has been very small.
Well, that's the trouble.
And but that is the prescribed method from the state on how it works.
Everybody keeps telling me the state.
It is.
Yeah.
This is the way. I would love to have it at the same time as our town meeting and so on, because a lot of times the discussion goes, well, we don't know what the school's going to do, so we're not going to do anything for the town and so on. So yes, I would love to have it, but it's the way things are right now. It can't happen.
They can't give us a budget to discuss at town meeting. Why?
Well, when we had our town meeting, the superintendent's proposed budget, is public. It can certainly be
I don't know
talked
why
about.
it couldn't be.
People,
It
can't
cannot
be debated, but you can
can.
inform people as to what the proposed budget is.
Yeah, you can't. Technically, at our town meeting, you're not supposed to be discussing anything than what's on the warrant.
Okay.
Well, why
I mean,
can't
you could put a warrant article possibly to discuss the RSU 5 budget, but the discussion there is going to have absolutely no effect on the RSU 5 budget, because you can't make any votes. You can't do anything with that.
Well, at least it would give the townspeople a chance to have the discussion at our town meeting. If we don't vote, we can't vote on it.
To what end, though, Toby? What's the objective?
But at least get them more informed.
I guess I'm at a loss on that, because I know as a selectman, I tried everything I've been able to think of to get word out about the budgets, about when the meetings are. They typically have a meeting here at the Durham School before the budget.
This week, actually, it's tomorrow night. The school board is meeting at the Durham School.
And in fact, 1 year, somebody donated a bus to drive people from the Eureka Center to Freeport to try to get people there, and I think one person showed up for the bus.
Last year, the three-town meeting was here at this school, and we didn't really get any more people from Durham to the meeting then than when the meeting's held in Freeport. So the opportunities are there, the information is there. If people don't take advantage of the opportunity to inform themselves, then they really have no one to blame but themselves.
It's, I understand, because I understand the desire to have everything done at once. 'Cause, I mean, and knowing the town before and when everything was talked all and voted on all at one meeting, it was handy. But when we look at the school now, we can have a discussion there, but it's only amongst the Durham people. And you can't make any decisions just with Durham people. We're a union. It's not the Durham schools anymore. It is RSU 5. And
I mean, it's no different than when, before it was RSU 5, Freeport used to go to the town council, and the town council could say, you need to go and cut X amount or whatever, and they would have to go back and relook at it. They don't do that anymore. That's not part of the process anymore because of the new RSU. Your only really recourse would be to talk to the people in Augusta, and I agree. That's, they're the ones that need to change the system that didn't really appear to be very fair when it was set up. And I'm not sure that it's ever gonna really be fair in a way, but
A lot of towns said no
I
when it came
agree.
to RSUs and got, okay.
yeah,
Well,
we were under, and the town of Durham took the threat seriously of losing funding, and they chose to join the RSU 5. That's happened. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I
it's,
know what's happening.
and there've
Believe me.
been 2 attempts to try to pull out, and they both
Everyone's
failed
ta-
handily.
And everyone's taxes show that change.
Well, the taxes, the schools as a percentage of your tax bill is essentially the same, actually a point or two lower than it was before the RSU. So the town side and the county and all that has gone up just as fast right along with it. And it's, I mean, this is, I don't think an RSU discussion is that productive because for a lot of reasons Jeff mentioned, it's really beyond the purview of this board.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
unless something changes at the state level, like Mark said, so.
That's really the only recourse at this point.
Yeah.
You gotta get them to change what they
And
did.
the only other thing
I
is,
agree.
try to get the word out to as many people as you know when the meetings are. I think, I know 2 years ago, we had about 48 residents from the town of Durham show up. Last year, I think it was in the 40s, and so on, and, yeah. That's like 1.5%.
Our town meetings used to be a lot bigger than they are. I mean, I was actually
Yeah.
pleasantly surprised that we had that many people during that storm
On
day.
a storm
Yeah.
day.
Last year, I don't think we had that many people.
Yeah.
I mean, so you look at that, and you go, well, there's 3,500, 3,800 people in Durham, and you've got, what, less than 10%
Yeah.
showing
Yep.
up to make this. And they all know every year it's the same time,
Yep.
just like Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Yep.
They've chose to do whatever they've chose to do.
Along the lines of kind of getting things in alignment, because I do think there's some value there. One of the things I talked about, and I don't think it's something we can do in 1 year. I think it requires a lot of, like a feasibility study to see if it would even make sense. Is if we moved from a calendar year to a fiscal year, and like if our town meeting, that would move our town meeting likely to like a June timeframe, and then we would know at that point what at least what the official proposed budget were, and it would go a long way towards getting our revenue stream and our spending streams in alignment with each other versus the way it is now where we're approving a budget in April that started in January and we don't collect any money on until August.
It would take,
It's like-
it would take a year of strange taxes.
It would, yeah. So, and I don't have the answer to it. I don't know about the transition.
Yeah, that's what happened.
I did have some conversation with, just kind of hallway conversation after a school board meeting, ironically, with Tim Gidding from Powell, and they went through a similar thing several years ago, and they had a fairly, planned out process to get there, and we didn't really get into the details of what that was, but
Yes, we would definitely need to put together a committee of some sort
Yeah.
to look into it, so you understand the pros and cons
Right.
and how you would go about doing it. There are definitely some pros to doing it. There are definitely some drawbacks, and then you gotta. you need to figure out, and I actually, this would be a good one to put up there, is let's look at what it would take to move from a calendar to a fiscal year.
Maybe that's where we do
And, I mean, there would still be 2 meetings.
it.
And take a look at the pros and cons, and before you even decide on the pros and cons, try to map out a way that you could get from point A to point B if the town decided to.
The other thing too, Todd, is every once in a while, the RSU has a 3-town meeting where it's some of the selectmen go, and generally I go, and then there are people from the board there too, and so if you want to attend any of those, you're welcome to do that too.
So, I mean, and so typically they have one in the fall with the leaders of each of the boards, and then one in the winter around February, March timeframe with all the boards, the whole board's in attendance. It gets to be quite a large meeting then, but, and
Well, there were 3 of them from Freeport last time, wasn't there? 3 or 4?
yeah, well, the one that we went to in the end of February was supposed to be everybody from every board. I don't think the invitation was put out quite like that, but so the RSU is looking for input from the board. I believe if you want to have input, you can. It was actually largely through some of my input that we got the meeting over here last year, the town meeting part of it, because I had been pushing for 3 or 4 years for that, and they finally decided to do that. I kind of hope that maybe once every 3 years, that's what they're going to do.
I think that's the intent from
Yeah.
whatever.
So, but
It'd be nice, and maybe people could get used to it and actually come to it, because
yeah, I think
it's hard to get people.
I don't know whether it's like the 3rd or 4th Wednesday of May that typically is, but
I think it's like May 24th or something
So
this
that'd
year,
be
whatever that
4th.
Wednesday is.
so
Yeah, May 24th.
besides the school stuff, what else do you?
I'll give it to somebody else. I'll think of something else.
Anybody else?
I have one, and this came up at town meeting. I thought, there was a citizen that made several good points and asked a lot of questions about a capital improvement plan. And I think I've expressed in budget committees that I've never really been a big fan of the unspent budget money just automatically going into the capital reserve account for that department. So I think the town is growing at a rate and to the size now where we should look at stopping that practice, and that we should have essentially a single, capital improvement bucket, if you will, and that each year we take all the things, all the proposed projects, a fire truck, a dump truck, an expansion on the building, whatever it is, and prioritize those projects and have a longer term plan. So I'd like to explore that.
I think it's a good thing to explore. I think we need to look at how to do it fairly, because we have already set aside a considerable amount of money for the fire department, and actually right now for the public works in separate designated funds, and how and those should really go to those departments and so on. And
I guess I would challenge that as to why it's all taxpayer money. It's not the
but
fire department's
it's been
money.
directed. It's been directed to those funds by the taxpayers already.
Well, any change like this would have to be voted on by the taxpayers. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be.
It's really, and I will absolutely stand on this, it is absolutely unfair to the fire department that because they were planning things out 10 years before every other department, that we're going to rip the money that's been set aside for the fire department and just throw it into a general capital improvement plan.
Well, I guess. Well, we don't have to debate the
No.
actual issue now.
No.
We'll have plenty of time for that discussion, but it's something that I think we should.
I
we should
mean,
explore.
I like the idea going forward of doing something like that, but I also have some misgivings, and I'll just put one of the things out there, and because this year at the town meeting, it was a very stark example of it. When people are looking to cut from the budget, they look for the big ticket items, and they look for the future looking things. And we saw it this year where they didn't put anything aside for fire department and for public works capital improvements. If you combine them all into one article, my guess is that article is going to be roughly $200,000 a year, trying to plan out for roads, road repairs, road equipment, fire equipment, town office stuff, and all that. $200,000 I think will be low, and that's going to be a large. Wow! Look at this number. Let's hack this number. And
It may be, but you know they hacked it anyway this year when it was all separate numbers. And I think it comes down to, you know, I think the better job we do of as a board and as department heads of, you know, showing due diligence and prioritization and making the case, you know, then that will end up with a better result that the town will support. Because while the town is you know, frugal, they're not. I think that generally, if you make a good case, and they don't want to be penny wise and pound foolish. So, you know, with some exceptions, you know, I mean, it
So
happens.
you
But
haven't met some of these farmers, have you?
I mean,
I give everybody the
think
benefit of the doubt until they prove me otherwise.
3 out of 4 years, I think you're right.
So,
Maybe, but every once in a while, something happens. This was one of those years. I don't know
yeah.
what caused it. I mean, the fire department has been putting out this plan year after year after year of replacement and, you know, keeping ahead or on time with things and so on. And actually, the last 2 years, they've turned down the equipment request that is actually 3 to 4 years past due. And maybe it hasn't been presented well enough. I don't know, but so it doesn't always. Having the plan doesn't always work. It can help,
Yep.
but it doesn't always work.
I just
And
think we need to look
I
at
think-
capital and everything in context with each
so.
other. You know?
So I do know one thing that Pownell has. Pownell, I believe, has a capital improvement committee. I'm not 100% sure on that,
Yeah,
but
that's what I was just gonna
Yeah.
add, is down there, they have the capital improvement committee, and so when it goes to town floor, it'll be, say, recommended yes or no by the, so it's already been blessed by the committee,
but
so people know.
And that's essentially what this gentleman at town meeting was referring to, is he asked about the CIP committee, and
Those
that's,
guys
they
down there.
take it all in, like, okay, what is fire asking for, what is public works asking for, what is town office asking for, and these are, you know,
but
this is how we prioritize.
But they can't be just looking, this is what they're asking for this year. It's gotta be a
No, it's a
forward-looking-
more, yeah, it absolutely
a much
is.
more, a
It
much
absolutely
forward,
is.
because,
They're out 30 years, they're out, I mean, right now, they're looking at 25 years down the
but-
road.
I mean, and where we're at right now, the fire department's been doing this capital project looking about roughly 20 years, I think, for 10 to 15 years now, is what you've been putting it together?
I've been doing it since either '03 or '04,
Yeah,
and it's usually out somewhere around 10 years to 15 years, somewhere in there.
Yep. and we're just getting started with roads, 'cause, and
That's unfortunate.
starting to look, I mean, and roads had been very low priority on the town for many, many years, and it shows. We are just starting to look, the town office, we're gonna need to look more, because we are at the 30-year mark on this town office, and there are definitely things that are gonna need to be done.
So,
But yes,
it's
I
all part of the discussion, I think,
Right.
and
do we,
we got a
So-
lot of big expenses coming, how are we gonna manage through them?
do we look at those two items up there, the fiscal year and the capital improvement plan? Does it make sense to task a single committee to look at that type of thing, or should they be, because it's hard to get volunteers for committees.
Why can't that be the budget committee?
Well, I was gonna have a similar suggestion, you know, the budget committee is a pretty low demand task on,
Yeah.
as far as committee assignments goes. I wonder if there might be some, it feels like a natural fit to roll at least the capital improvement piece, maybe into their duties. I'm not sure, I think the calendar to fiscal year thing might even be more like of a route with the Maine Municipal Association or even GP cog, like that, almost that sort of exploration.
I think we need some townspeople to, I mean, yes, some MMA stuff and things like that, but I think we need townspeople to really look at what does this mean to the town of Durham and come up with a presentation for when we bring this to, if we bring this to town floor. This is where we are today. This is what we'd like to do. This is why. And this is how we think we should get there.
Yeah.
Might end up with a year and a half's taxes in a year,
Yeah.
which is really gonna tweak people a little bit, so that's.
Yeah.
The explanation for that's
Right.
gonna have to go.
As I have an issue with the capital improvement plan being rolled into the budget committee. I think it would be a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
The budget committees, at least
Because
the
they're
way,
offering a recommendation.
Yeah,
it's more of a
yeah.
balance
Yeah, that
check
makes
for them,
sense.
Yeah.
and
makes
and
sense.
their mission is often seen as what's the least amount of money we can spend and keep the town running.
Yeah.
At least that's the way many members look at it. Recently, I think there's been a change in how some budget committee members look at it, but historically it's
No, I
been.
think you're right. I think you make good points there.
But,
I'll rescind that earlier suggestion.
so, all right, any other things from you?
Well, yeah.
Uh-oh.
Well, no, one I mentioned last week, and it sounds like that Calvin has it, but I just wonder if we need to be a little bit more overt with the town on what the long-range plan for taking care of the roads is. Like, and maybe we need to come to a couple of options, you know, everything from, like you mentioned the other night in our meeting, like, oh, we can't do 8 miles of road in a single year. Well, what would it cost if we wanted to? Like, if you do that much, and I don't know the answer to these questions, and I'm not necessarily looking for answers tonight, I'm just asking rhetorically, but, you know, what if we did want to do 8 miles in a year? Because so many roads are so bad. I can't imagine telling people that on some of these roads, like, yeah, I'm sorry, you know, I know your road is like, you know, barely fit for a 4-wheel drive vehicle, but it's going to be 5 years before we can get to it. I just don't know if that's going to fly, you know, and I think we ought to at least look at, okay, and maybe the town will say, oh my God, no way we could do that. What would it take if we wanted to be more aggressive and have a couple of options to show the town, okay, here's the 10-year plan or 6-year plan, here's a, you know, 4-year plan, and here's a 2-year plan, and here's the cost associated with each one. How much is the town willing to bite off, you know, to, you know, so that they really so they understand, you know, what the balance is between, you know, getting the roads done versus how much money it would cost and how soon versus how long they might have to wait to have the road done. So I'd like to see a more comprehensive layout and communication plan for
Just
that.
so you do know, I mean, I can put that together for you, but just so you do know, on that spreadsheet I've given you guys in the budget committee, yeah, just taking our 47.2 miles and giving it a 10-year plan, which is what DOT tells every town to do, put it on a 10-year cycle. If it's a 10-year point, you're gonna have to do something to that road, which is an overlay.
Yep.
So, doing that with our roads, that spreadsheet shows the cost is 500
Something per year, but I mean,
$500 million a year just to maintain the road.
but Kevin's actually looking more at, what's it gonna take to get the roads so that we are on that plan?
Yep.
Yeah, or
We're so far behind on that plan.
But I'm
that's
just-
what I mean. Like, at some point, do we, you know, say, okay, we've gone so long without, you know, with underspending on our roads. if we want to get them back to satisfactory condition in X amount of time, it's gonna cost X amount of money.
So on next Tuesday, Calvin, could you bring the road survey thing? And so that we can see, especially the roads that need, because we can calculate approximately,
I can give you a per foot price.
right, because we know, if we do it all at once, it's the 3.6 to 3.7 miles that we did last year would have been approximately 1.9 million or something like that. We can do the same thing with all of that.
Does that, and again, I don't know how this works, but if you do a larger bond, can you finance it over a greater number of years to, get the payment out and spread it, you know what I'm trying to get at? So-
We could,
Advertise it over a long
we could
period.
have, we could have, so this particular one that we just did, we chose 7 years, and the main reason we did, we could have gone 10, we might have been able to do 15, but it doesn't make sense to do 15 years on something that you're gonna be doing something in 10 years, so in order to save some interest on it and so on, we said, let's eat a little bit more up front and do a 7-year. But yeah, you can, and if you're doing like a 2 to 3 year plan, but taking out one bond, then making it a 10, 12-year bond may make more sense.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna do all the roads that year.
Right. So I think those are all great questions. I think
Yep.
we should look at what are the options, financing and all that. So just,
And then some of that stuff moves.
because if we just go, okay, we're gonna do a bond every other year and we're gonna do 3 miles every other year, we are never gonna get there. That's
No.
not gonna get us there fast
I
enough.
mean, I'd like to just see a.
Yeah.
So
Get us
if
up to-
if you can bring the road survey, at least you can see exactly how many miles of road fall into the rebuild now.
Because I'm the one that's gonna answer the phone every day and tell people. And then like,
And-
I feel
and-
bad for you, but I.
It's actually it's hard to, because we have people that call us on occasion and say, why are you doing this, why are you overlaying this road, or actually the question is, why are you fixing this road rather than my road, which is so much worse? And trying to explain to them that if you don't fix this road at half to a quarter of the cost now, in 2 to 3 years, you're going to be paying that much more, and so it's not.
It goes from a maintenance to a rebuild.
Yeah, it's not financially sound. We should have been doing this for the last 20 years.
Yep.
And
So that's a good
Do we
segue
have
to the last two that I have.
We haven't,
um,
because we just can't get the votes, or
well,
we just neglected
There
it?
was no plan.
there was no point. So up until 2010, we had an elected road commissioner,
Right.
and we contracted everything out. And all road projects were proposed and went to the town floor if you wanted to pave something and so on. Since 2010, we've had an appointed one, but we've gone through many iterations until we came to this Public Works. And it was a lot of the feeling was, let's not do anything big until we get our feet under us on this. I personally was very strongly in favor of starting the rebuilds at least a year, probably 2 years before we did. But the rest of the board wanted to hold back until we actually got our feet under us. And so, but it's probably been, there's several things that are stacking up on us. In the 80s, late 70s and early 80s, the state had a program to turn your gravel roads into tar roads or paved roads, and they were giving a certain percentage towards that. And so the town of Durham, like many other towns, hopped on that because maintenance of tar roads is cheaper than the maintenance of gravel roads. But when we did that, it was done without without building the proper base. It was, they just, pretty much they laid the pavement over
Sure.
what was there. And so now we're 30 years out from that, and we may have had, each of these roads may have had one overlay or something in that time, but there was no base to it to begin with, so that's,
I understand that. What I don't understand is how we're gonna somewhat navigate that back to Public Works. They don't have the capabilities of building this, so we're still in a
no.
form of subbing that out.
Well, we're gonna subcontract the paving, but we can do the ditching, we can do, if we can spread it out over a few years. And that's why we need to look at, okay, what's it gonna cost us to do all of this in a year, all of this in 2 years? Because we'll have to sub more of it out, but we can do ditching, cross culverts, all this other stuff. And that is what actually, when we gave out that sheet that showed we did this many miles of road for 1.1 million plus whatever the Public Works employees portion of it and stuff was, compared to a similar project that if you extended it out, it would have been 1.9 million. And so our savings was somewhere around the 700 to 750,000. That's how we're able to save that, because we did the ditching ourselves, we did the cross culverts and things like that.
Jeff, if everybody could save $750,000 on the same amount of road, why doesn't everybody have a Public Works? I mean, that number just doesn't seem to jive. You got 1.9 million or 1.9 miles of road, and if the guys from Durham, because they're so efficient or whatever, can do it, they can save a town, what was it, $700,000? That just doesn't make any sense. Even to a layperson, that doesn't make any sense.
We can show you the exact figures.
I'd love to see it, but I mean, just think about it from the outside looking in. It doesn't
These two
make
projects were run by the same person.
same exact.
Same company did the work.
Okay, so Calvin, how do you justify it? How are you able to save the town $800,000 on a road compared to, because if that's the case, we should have some pretty good looking roads. I mean, it just, the number to me, I mean, whether you're putting in a driveway or, there can't be that much of a disparity in
First off,
1.9 million,
we've just started.
1.9 miles.
And one of the other things that people seem to forget about a lot is they think that you're gonna get all the ditching that this town needs done in a year. This town could have a 10-year plan on ditching, and once you get started here and finished here, at the end of that 10 years, you're gonna start back here. Because that's the way ditching works, that's just the way it is.
No,
So-
that's 100% understandable. It just, that doesn't really get back to what I was asking.
So we
If we
had,
have 1.9 miles of road, and it cost us $800,000 less for the same, let's say, scope of work, that doesn't make any sense.
3.9 miles.
Okay, 3.9, let's call it 10 miles, who cares for that matter? We're talking about 800 grand that Durham, a Public Works that's been established for what, 6-7 years,
3.
3 years, has that much efficiency over anybody else who does that type of work. That just doesn't, how do you tell that to people?
We're not for profit, we're not making a profit, we're not here to make a profit. Crooker's gonna make a profit. That's a lot of profit.
That's,
so.
hey man, I put in roads, I put in driveways, I built subdivisions. That number does not jive. If you're comparing apples to apples, whether I hire Crooker, whether I hire Labby, they're not gonna be, maybe once in a blue moon, but they're not gonna be an $800,000 disparity for the same project.
I can tell you that we had Crooker do the job in Pownell, and I will tell you, the one we did over here went much smoother and is a much better end product, than the one over there that we paid the $100,000.
I haven't seen it, and I'm not even gonna debate you with it, because
So I'm just telling you that it did
But
happen. and
so we provided the actual figures of what we paid Crooker, what we paid our employees, what we paid for the equipment the town equipment we used, and added those up compared to what they paid added those up, divided, so it showed it was $61, roughly $61 a foot. The same type of project that was done in Pownell was $100 a foot.
That's the going rate, it's
And-
$125 a foot.
And so, I mean, the numbers are there. I am very much a numbers person.
I hear you.
And
So am I.
And the numbers are there. What we provided are actual numbers, are actual, if you wanted us to even go and say that all of the work, all of the time that was spent from April to November by our Public Works was, we'll count towards this project, even though they did other things. You would, I mean, just knowing what our budget was and what we spent for, and so on, you would still see $500,000 or more of savings. Because if you just said everything that they did, we'll throw onto this project, then
But Jeff, you'd have to have the exact same variables in the road, the exact same build, the exact same depth of ditching. There's no way, there's no road in Maine that's the exact same road that you would have those variables.
What is it you're looking for?
I'm looking to try to figure out what am I looking for? Well, when I hear numbers like that, or when anybody hears numbers like that, it just doesn't make any sense.
But if we give you the numbers,
Give me the numbers and show me the roads.
and she has the numbers, and you don't believe, I mean, you can go look at the road's done now.
run around Pond Road and Rabbit Road in Maine, in Durham.
So
Brown
you're
Road
good
in
with that?
Pownell.
You're good with $800,000. I tear into that
All
Yarmouth
I can tell you is
project.
you take the numbers and you tear them apart yourself. That's all I can say. I don't, I gotta have some faith in the guys that we got working for us. And unless I ride around, look, I heard the same excuse from past selectmen. The ditches are too deep, you don't know what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. You know what? I rode around this town.
Nobody's arguing that. We're just trying to figure out why there's an $800,000 disparity
You know.
when we have a crew that's been working together collectively, let's say for 3 years versus, and the only argument to be made is, well, we're not making any profit. Well, we should be making some profit because we made quite a bit of investment in public works. We just can't count labor and our gas in our truck.
No, we are a nonprofit.
Right.
We make no profit.
But we gotta make sure our basis is covered,
Our profit
right?
is, if you want to consider our profit is our savings by being able to do these smaller parts of it with our employees rather than paying a contractor to do it all. And that, the only difference between these two roads, so the thickness of the asphalt that was laid was the same. The, Durham did concrete or asphalt injection? Concrete injection. And Pownell did asphalt injection, but they were the same cost. And I don't know the specs on the ditches necessarily, but so Durham did the ditching and the cross culverts and all that stuff ahead of time.
Pownell had a lot less ditching on that project, so it actually would be even more of a savings if you want to compare foot by
But
foot by foot.
but if
Comparison.
I mean, you can look at, so these were very close, the projects were very similar. And you can look, I mean, you can go down to Pownell and ask them for the bill or how much it cost, how much they paid Crooker to do this job. And we have the bills here, we have the hours and things like that. And if you add those up and you see the difference, you can't argue the numbers. I mean, you can say it doesn't make sense.
Does it?
I don't care if the.
No, I'm just asking you, if I told you I built that house right there for $100,000 and I built the exact same house right next door, but it was $400,000, would that make sense?
Now, you said you built it for 100. Did you build the second one for 100 and you got 300,000 profit?
Either way,
Wow,
it's costing me
that doesn't make sense.
No, it's costing me for the same project, and it's not like I'm putting sweat equity out there. We're still paying these guys. It's not like I'm swinging the hammer. It's not like the people of the town is swinging the hammer. It's just, you're talking about not that large of a road to have
Two
$800,000.
roads identical.
Exactly.
Exactly. But there are
So there's
roads that are
variables.
as close as you're gonna get
And
to be able to compare.
And, I mean-
How else you gonna do it?
how, so you can't argue, does it make sense to me? If we've got hard and fast numbers.
I'm not asking to
how-
argue, I'm just asking
No,
if
no,
does that
but-
make
but
sense to
you're-
you?
you're to be honest, I was surprised at the amount.
That's all I'm asking.
But-
I haven't seen the numbers. I'm just asking, does that make sense?
You were presented the numbers at the last meeting, right?
I wasn't here at the
I
last
don't
meeting.
think-
No, I mean, at the first meeting?
I don't
Or
think I
at the-
gave them the rest
Were you
of
at the
it.
town meeting? Because the numbers,
I was at the town meeting, I heard about it, but I haven't,
Because I'm not entirely sure whether we just presented the front page or whether we
Okay,
presented
so,
all of the pages. Which
Can
is
you, can you
welcome to
provide,
look at.
so,
And if you want me to explain,
listen, it's a very simple question. I'm not looking for a smoking gun here. Like I said, I asked Kelvin, what makes us so much more efficient? And it's not profit that we're able to do that. It doesn't,
I don't-
it doesn't really correlate.
I'm not sure what you're really asking, because you said, why wouldn't every other town do that? Well, every other
Why
town
wouldn't it?
has their own public works,
Every other
does
town
their
does.
own ditching. And whether or not they do their own ditching on a big project like that, I don't know. I don't know what their plan is and what they plan on spending, what they don't. I don't know what their timeframes are, compared to us. so I
Oh, that's
don't know.
understandable. It's just, if there was that much savings, I mean,
It typically is, when I
And
do the
which-
roads in Dixon, sometimes we.
which is one of the reasons why this town decided to go to a public works. It wasn't to save money, it was to get more done with the money that we have. Or the and I think we've clearly shown that that is happening.
I talked to the engineer the other day on the cross culverts putting on Auburn Powell Road, and he just was elected to the Waterville City Council, and he said, I'm asking for these same numbers. I showed him that spreadsheet, and he said, this is exactly what I'm looking for. He said, I want to compare apples to apples. He said, even if it's the same cost for our public works crew to do it that a contractor would be, I'd still rather have a public works, because I know if you guys come across something, you're gonna fix it the way it ought to be fixed, and not say that's an extra, or we're not doing that because we didn't bid this job for that. We know you're gonna fix it. He said, so even if it's the same, he said, I don't care, I just wanna know. Bottom line is, I just wanna know what the numbers are. And so even if we were the same as Crooker, in my opinion, we'd still be better off with the public works crew, because we have a goal and a plan, and we're getting there. We have the best interests of the town at heart, and that's what we're shooting for.
Are you for public works or against it? I guess that would be a question.
I have no idea. I don't have all the data to make that. I mean, I can tell you this, the biggest complaint I got when I was running was, what's up with Public Works? But I don't have a formed opinion. I just, when I hear numbers like that, I've been in construction,
I know you have.
I own several, but it just doesn't think about
One
it.
of the things that I would caution everybody on, especially our new selectmen, is, because I've heard some of the same numbers you have. Remember, we know some of the same people, so some
all
of the
know the same
rumors still
people,
all
yeah.
get around. And
I'm
I
not a
would
rumor
caution
guy.
you that
I'm
the
just a
rumors
number
that
guy.
you're hearing out there may be presented as fact when they're not. Some of that rumor may be partly factual, but you don't have the rest of it. Kind of like what Todd asked. And then when I gave him the rest of the story, it was a whole lot different. So I would caution us to be careful about that.
So may I,
Kevin asked about who runs the town channel. We don't have a town channel, but there's one put up there like we do. So I don't know.
town, Facebook.
Facebook
page, yeah.
Facebook channel. We don't have a Facebook channel in town, but somebody's putting out there, presented it that way. So if the information that is coming across,
But this
Depends on
information
where
came
it's-
from this desk. I'm not sure where you're going with this. I'm just asking about the same road. We're talking in an $800,000 savings. I'm not questioning.
you'll have, well, it
I'm just
sounds like
asking-
you are. Sounds like you question everything.
I would think
That's
you
why-
would question
and I do
something
too,
when
yeah.
somebody says,
Well-
we saved 800. Chief, if you could build me a fire truck for $800,000 less than your guys in the shop, you got nothing to do on Saturdays, could you do it?
Could I do it?
Yeah. Could you save the town 800 grand? We just pay the guys over there?
That would have to be my profit margin.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
That's all I'm getting at. I'm not saying, there's no innuendo from outside sources or
So-
townspeople.
so
I'm
I
just
guess
asking,
what I'm
does that
gonna-
make sense?
What I'm gonna ask you,
It sounds
rather
that
than
way.
keep asking, does it make sense, can you look at the numbers? If you have
Yes.
questions on the numbers, come and verify. They can show you on this Trio system. Pownell, you can ask, you can do a FOIA request from Pownell, and they have to give you
we
what
would
was,
have that information.
yeah.
Because we
Well,
wanted it.
just so that he gets it from them.
He could.
And so on, and verify that our numbers are correct. And if our numbers are correct, at that point, it doesn't matter whether it makes sense or not, it's true.
Let's just go to trade, how much profit they're making.
I mean,
Well, not how
and
much profit the contractors.
if it doesn't, if you find out that, oh, we made a mistake, or we forgot to count, I want to know what the real numbers are, but as far as I know, these are the real numbers, and what I'm seeing makes sense to me as far as what we're paying our employees, what it costs to run the equipment and things like that. But I guess rather than just saying it doesn't make sense.
Well, I think the doesn't make sense got a little carried away here. What I'm asking, Mark, was, I mean, and you just admitted the same thing. I mean, yeah, it doesn't jive with me either. So you saw the numbers, right?
Right, I didn't know.
So I don't have the numbers, and I ask, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, you're getting too much influence from the townspeople, and there's all this little innuendo. I think it was a fair question to ask when somebody says, hey, we got the exact same job, but we saved $800,000 by using our guys.
So the question kept coming back, does it make sense? I had assumed that you had seen these at the town meeting because from just what I'd picked up. But if you hadn't actually seen the numbers, then yeah. Go ahead.
In that job costing, you had talked previously regarding the cost of public works as it is, and the job costing does not take into account the cost of the building and stuff like that. The snow plow costing, I did take into account the cost of the loans that we had out. So that's in there, as well as the cost of actually running the building. And I'd be more than willing to go over the numbers with you and where the numbers come from.
No, I think we're getting back again to it there. I just heard a number of the exact same road.
So I did actually have one other question on something you said, and just for clarification, because you said you kept hearing from townspeople, what's up with Public Works? Was the question, what's up with Public Works, or what's up with my roads?
A little bit of both, in fairness.
Yeah.
A little bit of both, in fairness. Both Public Works, some people were concerned about the ditching over on, I think it was Quaker meeting you guys did last. But not a ton of folks, but mostly it's the roads.
Yeah,
The roads are bad, but
Yeah.
what, I guess as a town, I think Kevin hit the nail on the head here, is what's the biggest, as we're seeing here, what's the biggest concern for the town, and how do we get it fixed? What roads, do we have a strategy of what's the worst roads?
And we've talked about that numerous times, and it was brought up at a couple town meetings ago, and people asked the same question, and I said, well, it's really up to you guys. This isn't the selectmen's budget, this isn't the budget committee's budget, this is your budget, ours, we all pay taxes, it's the town's budget. So you can take what we've put out there that we think that's gonna make this town run, they verified it, and then it's up to you if you wanna leave it, add, subtract, as they did this year. So,
And
in the end, it's a matter of, do you wanna pay 17% taxes or 37%? We can do all the
Yeah,
roads and
and-
bring up the stuff, and I'd like to. I don't wanna pay 37%
But
taxes.
so there's the question that lies, how do we fix it?
Well, that's it.
That's the $1 million
We either
question,
get
right?
the town to go along with,
And that's like the
$5 or
$6
$6 million,
million.
yes.
So the $10 million question for that matter. You know what I mean?
I drove with some of these.
But if you're not gonna
roads,
increase tax and there's no other way of getting revenue,
There isn't.
how are you gonna fix these roads? is
Right.
the
You could
question.
keep spending, but there won't be anybody left here to
Right.
run the
Right,
roads.
I mean, it's just
We won't be able to afford it.
you gotta maintain what you got, and you gotta pick away at them the best you can.
So-
I mean,
So this whole conversation kind of gets us to like another like goal, is that just the communication that comes out of town office. I think the new website will be a great vehicle for that. But I think if, I've been involved in enough issues to know that in the absence of a narrative provided by the leaders, people will make up their own. Okay, so when it comes to things like, on the website, I can see something like, a road commissioner's blog or something where he's saying, this is what we're doing and why, and you're probably wondering why we're not doing this other thing. Well, here's why. Efforts like that. I mean, you're not going to get to everybody, obviously, and it's more of a challenge because we don't have like a single common media source that everybody reads, because you've got, that end of town's Sun Journal, and this end of town is Times Record, and this end of town is Portland Press Herald, so it's a real challenge. So that's, I'd like to see as a goal, is like better communication strategies.
Good. However, just so you know, like last year, we sent targeted messages to certain, because of
The Davis Road.
the Davis Road, because we overlaid the first part of Davis Road, and knowing that the second part of Davis Road was
Gonna come unglued.
is terrible. But so we actually sent out targeted messages to everybody along there, mostly well received, with a couple of. And so I mean, it's a big challenge. If you don't get a tweet about something, it never happened in a lot of people, or so you've got those type of people, or you have people who don't have anything to do with new medias and stuff like that, and it's really hard to try to target everybody.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, but I think there's more. I'm not saying we can get it perfect or even get it great, but I think we can get it better than it is now.
Yeah, and I mean, we have been attempting. It's amazing, even on things that we put out in multiple venues for several weeks at a time, and people still come, I didn't know.
Yep, I get it. And I'm not trying to put
No,
anybody on the
no,
defensive.
I mean,
I'm just
it's
trying
just-
to put out there with a new website and
You can try everything you want, and there's still going to be people. And,
understood.
yeah, that
That's-
don't
That's the thing
find
about
out.
the school budget. That not enough people know.
Well, I would, I don't want to get into the school thing, but the school does try. Like, there's, I think it came out last week or the week before. They send a pretty detailed brochure to every address in town about, these are the priorities, and this is what the proposed budget is, and this is what's going on, and so they're trying.
Yeah, yeah, but that's the thing. The communication is tough. It's difficult
very,
in the
it's very
Facebook
hard.
world.
Even
I think that actually, so this may lead into something that I was kind of wondering about. It's not communication with the townspeople necessarily as much as communication within the different departments and committees and so on. And one thought I've actually had this thought for a few years now, is that maybe each selectman take on being a liaison for a set of committees or a department. And-
I'll take comp plan committee.
Well, could you take the planning and appeals as well? Because that's kind of all together.
That's
No, only because they all have this.
No,
a
I
similar-
hear you. But
But so it would be one for the fire, one for public works, one for the town office, one for those committees maybe, and then the other committees, which I'm not sure. There's Eureka, Historic District, Cemetery. Are there any other committees on that? Memorial Day Parade. And
Is that a separate committee, or is that out of the fire station?
no, that's a separate committee.
It is, okay.
The
Yeah.
Historic Society is not a town
No,
committee, but
no.
I think it would be interesting.
Oh, yeah. Well, that could be, yeah.
District commission.
So you've got the historic district. They could also be a liaison with the historical society, because even though they are not a town committee, they do have some interaction, especially if they're wanting to get monies to help improve or save some of the historic buildings and stuff.
And there's a lack of communication, I think, there's several historical buildings in town that probably need some repair, and also need some upkeep and things like that. And I think that if there was more of a communication between the Historical Society, who looks at those buildings, and they also keep most of their stuff up here in, is it the Old Methodist Church?
No,
Old
Union
Town Hall.
Church
Union Church. Yeah.
Union
and
Church.
town hall.
Yeah, I think that might be a
Yeah,
good
so,
option.
yeah, the one that takes on the other committees could probably do that one, because it kind of falls in the same venue type stuff, the cemetery, historical, yeah.
But again, we don't need to get into the who's going to do what committee tonight. But
No.
the idea is like to have some
And-
selectmen representation on the various
Well, not
Committees.
not necessarily representation, but communication.
liaison.
Yeah,
communication.
and the goal would be to help improve communication between the selectmen and these departments or committees, not to direct the committees or the departments or anything like that. It's to, you know, if they've got a concern, bring it to the board. If the board has a concern, bring it to them, but to open up the lines of communication, because it's a fine balance between the communication and trying to step in and run things. And I think we've, to some degree, almost been overboard on we want to be withdrawn so it doesn't appear that we're trying to micromanage the different departments, and we've lost a lot of the communication.
I don't think you would. Even it would help for the selectmen to have a good ear with the planning board and the appeals board. There are things that should be discussed as selectmen.
And I don't think it means that
I don't
if you're the liaison for that board, doesn't mean you have to be at every meeting.
Yeah.
But
No, but
have an open
through email.
communication.
You gotta be up to speed with what's going on and the issues they're dealing with.
Just talk to the chairman after the meeting and see how it went.
Right, and if the board has questions for them,
Yeah.
things like that. So, I mean, I think having that communication could be good, because we have had, in the past few years, there've been some communication issues that have come about, that have caused some ripples at times, and I think it might be a good,
Yeah.
not saying anything.
I think that's a good idea. I like it.
You could have asked.
I have to ask a question on that, though. Is that, to some degree, though, I guess what would the intent be, like if the fire department had a liaison in regard to me needing to come every couple of weeks to do a report and stuff? I would think that would remove the necessity for me to come before the board.
I wondered if, where we have a department head, I'm not sure for,
And I'm not
I
saying
think
I'm
we have a
against
liaison with these guys.
No, actually, I actually thought having somebody specifically communicating with the department head, and maybe with the department at times and so on, or with the office, that's their role. I know at one point, a couple of years ago, I had kind of wanted, like what you were saying, I kind of wanted to go to a once a month for department heads reporting, if we could do it. And we tried it, and for some reason it went right back to the every meeting. But especially if there's not something that you need to request a vote on or something like that, a written report would probably suffice.
But isn't part of the intent of them coming, not that I want you guys necessarily to have to come every meeting, but isn't part of the intent to inform the public as well, as they watch the videos?
Yeah, but if there's nothing super major going on, I don't see why once a month wouldn't be enough for each, and maybe one meeting would, or every other meeting. So one meeting would be like road commissioner, and the other meeting would be fire department or something, unless there was something pressing that they needed to address. And but I mean, we can discuss that at meetings, and that's just one of those. That's one of the things I did want to throw out there as a possibility. And we can discuss how things work at a regular meeting if we want to go down this road.
Yeah, I think the liaison's a good idea. As long as it doesn't, get misconstrued as, you're coming across as the chairman, you're there to babysit per se.
I mean,
we almost have to be a silent observer unless we're asked for help.
And I'd sat in some meetings that Kevin was chaired of way back, actually when there was some school stuff, and I just kind of showed up.
Sure.
I think I was at probably more meetings than even some of the people that were on them.
You were.
But they just, and that's basically what I did, is I just kind of listened, and I probably a couple times asked if I could make a comment, but most of the time I didn't say nothing, and I think that's really the part of it.
right.
I will say, we never saw it as an intrusion. In fact, it was oftentimes I felt it was helpful to have a selectman's ear there.
Right, and
Josh Libby was there sometimes.
one of the biggest things that needs, that it should be stressed to selectmen and so on, is that you do not, there is no authority as an individual. We act as a board.
Right.
So you may be a liaison to communicate things from the board to a department head or to another board, and communicate things back. But as a single individual selectman, you don't have the authority to tell the fire chief what to do,
Right.
or the road commissioner what to do. You might make suggestions, or if he asks or something, you might make a suggestion, but you don't have the right to do. And sometimes that understanding is very clear among board members, and sometimes there has been a little blurring of that. But
One thing that we haven't talked about yet, but I don't know if we need to articulate it or not, because we kind of already know, is that we need to deliver the health insurance comp analysis. That's something that we have to.
do you think you could have the MMA salary survey stuff on health things for surrounding communities and similar sized communities by like the 16th, the May 16th meeting, or?
Yeah, that's easy enough.
Okay, I didn't want to make you have it by next meeting, but by May 16th or something like that, just so that we can have, and yeah, I think that would be good for that meeting and give us a good starting point anyway.
I've got another wild one to throw out there, and this is and I didn't even know you could do this. I was reading in the Forecaster last week or the week before, and there's an article about North Yarmouth and their budget or something, and they have a program where if the resident is, and I might get these numbers wrong, but the gist of it'll be right, but if the resident is 70 years old and has lived in town for at least 10 years and in their current home for at least a year, then they get $1,000 off their property tax bill. And
That's legal?
Yeah.
I believe it's an ordinance, yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm surprised that didn't
I
fall
was-
under the Fairness Act.
No, it's legal, many towns do that.
Yeah, so I throw that out there. I throw that out there as an acknowledgement that yes, I mean I absolutely get it's an issue.
$1,000 off their tax bill?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. That's, yeah, because
So
Yeah, regardless of if they're paying $1,000, but they get free taxes. I mean,
I don't know if it's a like the
you probably don't get the fair income
I
tax.
don't, I don't think it's a refundable credit.
Okay.
Don't get a refund.
Does it
Yeah.
matter if he's a millionaire or
But
not?
I think it might help because if we're gonna we know we have a lot of stuff coming down the road, whether roads and fire trucks and town office and all this stuff, and it might be a little easier for the town to kind of say understand that we got to do it if we're helping out the senior citizens on the fixed incomes that people cite the most often as being concerned about. It might be a way to help balance that
It would be
impact.
interesting to investigate that.
I'm not even necessarily advocating for it, but I think it's an interesting idea that we should look at.
It's got to be paid somewhere, though.
Exactly, it increases.
That's the point. I mean,
It raises
we're trying to
everybody
figure out
else's-
how we're going to pay these things, and now we're going to decrease
Well,
tax. I'm for it.
Well, it's kind of like
I don't know
people
how you
say,
do it.
"Oh, we're concerned about the senior citizens." Well, okay, here's a chance to put your money where your mouth is, and we're all those of us under a certain age are gonna pay a little bit more, so that those of over a certain age will pay a
Will
little bit
actually
less.
stay here.
And,
They'll actually stay here instead of going to
I
Florida.
mean, some other things
Taking all their money and going to
maybe
Florida.
making sure everybody understands the homestead exemptions.
Mm.
Worked very hard for that, yeah.
Yeah, because that's a fairly substantial
Mm.
exemption, and we get, is it 75% of it back from the state now?
Right now, it's 62.5% this year,
Okay.
because it's gone up to $20,000 off the
Okay.
assessment value of your home.
Yeah, well, so maybe an effort is maybe we if that's the case, are you saying there's a fair number of people that are eligible for and not taking?
I have,
homestead
I
exemption?
don't know what the percentage of people that use it are, but.
There's no income requirements, the only requirement is that it's your homestead.
and
Right,
you've
but
lived
I
it
guess
1
what I'm
year.
getting at is if there are, would it be worth, you know, you hire an intern or something, you know, somebody a part-time, or, you know, go through the task, hey, this person's not, like, make an effort to go out and
Yeah.
encourage people to take the homestead exemption.
It'd be interesting to
Yeah,
know
just-
what percentage of properties, residents, what percent of properties with residences on them use that, because, and it's not gonna be everyone, because if you have another residence that's your primary residence, you can't
You
claim.
can't,
more.
right, I understood, but.
But it would be interesting to know. I think probably more than 50% of the people eligible are using it, but.
Yeah, so,
Don't we get
think
something
it'd
in the
be-
mail for that? I've gotten them in the mail. I mean, I don't qualify, but I've gotten something about the Homestead Act. in the
Oh,
mail.
that's something, I'm talking about so the, what I'm talking about is anybody qualifies if this is your primary residence.
Right.
You, basically on the first $20,000 of value, you don't pay taxes. There are very few eligibility requirements for it. There are some where you can apply for a tax credit from the state, and that's
It's a tax fairness credit.
tax credit.
Yeah,
That's much harder to do.
That's
There's
different.
much more.
Yeah. But
anyway, that was
Yeah.
the final idea I
Well,
wanted
you
to
know,
throw
if you
out there.
guys wanna get into that kind of thing, Gardner used to put out, a flyer with the tax bill. We used to send out a flyer that had information about the homestead exemption, about the veterans exemption, about any other, things that are going in town.
With the tax bill?
With the tax bill.
Yeah, I was gonna
And
say
it's
that's-
also in the annual report. So every year in the annual report, it is outlined there in the assessor's section that those are options.
are we still doing the mailing, are we doing the mailings through a company now, or are we doing them ourselves? Yeah, so, but we could get them a flying.
It wouldn't be a substantial amount of money either.
That might be, it doesn't help them this year, but it would help them in the next year.
Right, because you have to get it in by April 1st.
Right.
So,
Just out of curiosity, does anybody know the demographics in terms of what is our population that's at 70 plus?
it's pretty low.
9%,
We're
I
below,
think.
9% or below.
9?
And-
They're 65. We have it's actually a much lower percentage than surrounding.
I'm
communities.
surprised, because at all of, like, the comprehensive plan committee meetings, like over at the school and so on, they talk about our aging population, and I don't believe that's true. I think
It's
we've
not
got-
true.
We've got a lot of younger families moving in, and so on.
Yeah, I'd agree with
We
that.
have one of the highest median incomes and one of the lowest average ages in the state.
I think our most population though, Kevin, isn't it within like 35 to 55?
I don't
somewhere
know.
there?
I don't know. I don't have those numbers committed to memory. They didn't like stick out, but I have all that stuff.
Well, that stuck out to me because it's like a second home. It's like not your first
Right.
starter home. It's
Right.
you're
Establishment.
substantially established now, and this is where you're going to live.
Yeah, there's no doubt that we know, and Bill did some work on this too. I think we know that there are not a lot of what we would call affordable starter home type places in Durham,
No.
or rentals, or we
Right.
know that's something that's
No, it's very
that the
few.
comp committee's talking about, quite a bit, and is definitely on the radar. How do you address that?
Yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah, exactly, right.
And actually, what I found is actually the most recent information is actually from 2015. It doesn't go all the way back to the 2010 census count.
Mhm.
There's information from 2015 that's out there that's
Yeah.
a lot more.
Our ordinances discourage duplexes
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
discourage rental property.
Yeah.
Right.
And affordable housing at $45,000, $50,000, $60,000 a lot. Affordable is
Yeah.
tough.
So that's all part of the equation. Down the road dealing with that.
It's always been difficult.
Any other items to touch on? Anything that, I mean, it's kind of hard at this point because for the ones new on the board and so on, as far as how meetings are operating, because you really haven't had a a chance to see too much on that, but, any other comments or suggestions on what you might like to see?
Is there any way that we can include the budget committee during the year so they're more in tune with what is happening in January?
We can try. We have made an effort in the past few years. We send out quarterly reports. We've invited them at least one time, like midway through the year. This last year, we invited them midway, and near the end of the year, we had some, like we invited them when Pine Tree Waste and Tice Waste were here presenting. So
How did that go? Did you get a,
we actually got a fair number of
I
them.
found it, yeah, I was on the budget committee at the time. I found it very valuable to be here when during the Tice, Pine Tree thing. And there was a meeting last July, kind of like after the commitment was done and everything. I personally was not able to make that one, but I think I was the only one who
Most
wasn't
most
at that
attended,
meeting.
I think.
So I think, you know, they, the budget committee, I think, has just as, a lot of people on the budget committee would share the same goal. They would like to be more involved and more kind of in the loop so that everything's not,
Dumped on
fresh and
in
new for 3 nights in February,
Right.
like drinking from a fire hose,
So would a municipal finance workshop be handy for, and I would, if we did something like that, I would also suggest inviting the budget committee, because there are, I mean,
Quarterly?
no,
No,
just
he means like a training.
municipal, so that when we come to budget times or we're looking over things, when we start talking about undesignated funds or restricted funds or some of these other terms that typically don't get mentioned out in the business world because you don't have undesignated funds necessarily. You wish you had undesignated funds.
nothing he's gonna talk about on camera.
No, undesignated, usually the government takes them, so it's
Right,
irrelevant.
So, but,
Municipal accounting is
but
much
ju-
different.
Much different.
yeah, and if that would be something that would be handy, I think maybe sometime late May, early June or something like that, we might be able to schedule something, invite the budget committee, just to give kind of a heads up so that, or maybe we wait until December or something when we're getting closer to the budget season, so it doesn't necessarily all get forgotten or something. But it can be, especially when you come into it new, confusing when certain terms are thrown out that aren't explained.
I would find that valuable. I think anything like that helps us
And
understand.
I remember, I mentioned it before, and I know we set some of those quarterly things that I think that if you could get together with the budget committee each quarter when they got that packet, to me, that's better.
I don't think we've gotten one of those packets in a while.
You have it.
Okay.
I do have the numbers, I just put the budget numbers in.
I hate to put anybody on the spot.
It's okay, it's okay.
Well, you're only a month beyond the
Month
quarter.
behind, yeah.
But I think a quarterly budget committee meeting to like kind of do a quick review of. I think that would be a good first step, because get that cadence going of regular touch base.
Maybe actually save on some of the questions at the budget committee times when they start going down through. Well, why did you spend here or something like that? If they already see what we spent and they can ask the questions early.
So do we want to invite them to May 16th? I think that we could invite them to the 2nd, but it's.
Actually,
kinda like-
May 16th would be good because they could be there during the discussion on what we find for the health insurance comparisons. We won't.
You think we're going to have results by May 16th?
No. This is just the comparisons.
To other communities, what other
What-
communities?
That's what. But you'll have. Well, I guess that's what I meant by results. You'll actually have a comparison
Yeah.
by.
Yeah, because the MMA
Oh,
website.
really? Okay.
They part of the salary survey. They also do.
They compile that.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to have to call
No,
all
no,
the
no.
towns and. Okay.
No, only the ones that aren't on the survey.
All right.
Anything else? Chief?
Can I maybe throw a couple things out there?
Go ahead,
Some
sir.
of them have been discussed, but I guess one of the things I wanted to throw out there is one of my things as a department head that I've always found difficult to work with is, you have discussed it, but I just wanted to give you my angle on it, is our budget year. Our budget year is very difficult, not operationally to work with, but rather from the perspective of if you do any capital improvement or capital projects, and there's not something in place for non-lapsing, in reality, we look at it that it's a year-long project, and it's not a year-long project. You have perhaps 7 months, 8 months to actually complete the project and get the invoices turned in and cleared, which in municipal government, that's pretty difficult.
The other advantage
Put
of
together
doing,
the proposal, the request and everything, and to get it approved by the board, you're looking at a month, 4 weeks to 6 weeks just to get somebody hired in the first place, then scheduling and then the actual project. It really, that is one piece that in all my years of being chief that I have not liked in regard to our budget, the way we do our budget, is that window to get the capital projects that don't having a non-lapsing budget attached to them completed.
So speaking of terms and so on.
Yeah, that's a new one. I hadn't-
Non-lapsing, so your typical budget that's voted in April expires, all that budget expires on December 31st. If you haven't spent it, the money basically either goes into your capital reserve fund or it goes back into the undesignated funds. It lapses. A non-lapsing fund is like the fire department capital reserve fund that money goes into, but it doesn't return back at the end of the year. So next year we can appropriate money from that.
Still needs to be
But you still
reauthorized,
have to
though,
be
right?
authorized.
But
Yeah.
it has to be authorized. But you could then, but that money doesn't disappear. Per se. The other money doesn't disappear, but it can't be spent. It has to be reallocated. And actually, everything has to be reallocated. The only other thing that you can do is if you know the expense and the work is either started or whatever, you can encumber it at the end of the year and actually pay it in the next year. But
the work has to be substantially finished
Right.
before December 31st, or your
Yeah.
accountant's cut you on the hand.
But, so yeah, that the non-lapsing refers to it doesn't disappear and can't be used.
The other advantage to having a fiscal year over a calendar year is you can have more than one due dates for your tax bills. The reason we only have one due date is because I can't commit taxes until the summer, because I don't know what to commit for the school.
Right.
But if you're committing in the fall, then you can have a tax due date in the fall, and then you can have a tax due date in the spring, which is a lot of towns do that. Some towns even do monthly.
That might be a selling point if we decided to go, that way, just so people can, spread it out over the year.
Yeah, do you only want to get one bill and pay it all at once, or do you want to get billed time after time?
Probably a 50-50
Yeah.
thing.
Well, if you was
You only
gonna,
get one bill.
yeah, if you was gonna do
It's paid
that,
twice.
that might ease the pain of the year and a half's worth of taxes, so you end up with three quarter, so to speak. That might make it.
Well, you're still in a 12-month period, you're still going to have to pay for
actually, if
18
you're gonna
months.
change over, yeah, you'd have to. that's right.
Because you're adjusting your time frame,
Right,
so.
yeah.
So you'd
Yeah.
if you pay your bill in August, and then instead of waiting till the next August, your next bill comes 6 months later, and then you're on a 6-month schedule from that point out. So that's
Most of
probably
the towns send you one bill, and then you have a little slip that says
right. That's
you can pay the other half.
And
June or
actually,
whatever.
like, with, when I lived in Lisbon,
Yeah, Lisbon does it.
that's what they did, but I actually got a second,
Correct.
I
You
got a
another
second
notice.
bill when it was,
Towns don't.
yeah, I got a second bill when
Yes.
the second
Right.
part was due, but, to remind us, but.
Yeah, a lot of the towns do.
And after something that happened today, I think the reminder one would probably be good.
Yeah.
We had somebody that was here that was irate about something that after close,
after the office closed.
after
you
the
mean?
office closed, yes.
Yeah.
To go along with that, it's not, I stated capital or projects, but it's not just that. Sometimes it's operational things, because
Yep.
you're authorized to spend a certain amount of your operational budget, but if the next calendar year, you have a project that's within the operational budget, but it fits outside the parameters of what you did last year, I mean, it's operational, but nevertheless, The only thing you can assume is that you have this 312s, 412s
Yeah.
of last year's budget. So if it's outside of the normal operational parameters, the funding really isn't there to start the process either. So it could be not just capital, it
Yeah.
could actually be in your operational budget, and it's just outside of normal operation. And you're in dangerous ground if you try to fund it beforehand, if you don't absolutely have to. So that piece is always, I've always found difficult to manage. Another piece that in some aspects, it's shooting myself in the foot because we've always had the capital improvement plan, but my opinion is that I've always advocated that the community overall, I should submit a capital improvement plan, and the selectmen or whoever the governing board is should actually put together a community-wide capital improvement plan so that we're not fragmented. I mean, you compared a lot of what we did to business and the private sector. No business, no private sector business is fragmented like that, where the fire service represents theirs, the town office represents theirs, the public works represents theirs. It actually goes to the management of that organization, and they in turn prioritize and put together the operational plan and the capital plan for that business or organization. So even though I'm shooting myself in the foot to an extent, I had it there because we needed to have it, but I have always advocated for the rest of the community to have one as well.
And I
Still
hope,
want to keep our funding separate though.
Of course. No, but it makes sense. I mean, it's hard to disagree with that.
I can, but now it's not, tonight's not the night.
I see what you're saying, but I mean,
The funding aspect of it, part of marketing where it was the only capital plan, part of the funding aspect of it is in order to market, the apparatus needed to be upgraded bad, and part of the marketing process needed to be to identify the funding sources, so a lot of that came along with that. By no means, though, I don't want you to take what I just said as a reason to have a rescue. I've always told other communities that have talked to me about it and stuff, the reason to have a transporting rescue unit is not to generate revenues, it's to provide a better service to the citizens. If that's a reason, that's okay, and then if you generate revenue beyond that, that's great.
The revenue is basically secondary.
What's that?
The revenue is secondary to what you're trying to do.
The revenues are secondary to the service. Make sure the service is what the citizens need, it's in the best interest of them, and then if you can generate revenues, great, if not, oh well. But those were I do
revenues are
advocate.
irrelevant.
Even though it gives up some of my turf and stuff, I do
And
advocate.
municipal
to see
government
it.
revenues
Yeah,
are.
that's what we decided earlier, right? Revenues are irrelevant because we're running a town, not a business. Right?
well, no, yeah.
Let's not go back there.
I wouldn't say revenues are irrelevant because then you're telling people, don't bother to pay your taxes.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, right.
No, revenues from his service is what he's saying. The only thing that's relevant is the service. It's not what we make from the service because we're not a business.
Right.
Right, but I think the reason I think people have,
Well, it came up quite a bit at the town hall.
I was gonna say, the reason
Yeah.
people keep bringing it up at town hall is because it was used as a part of the argument for doing it years
Right.
ago, so that's, I mean, they have minds like steel traps, remember everything that was said at town meetings for the last 10 years.
Remember everything that was said and some things
I
that
want to know
weren't.
what the income source is,
Well,
chief. How
I was
much you?
chief in 1997, so
Yeah.
I presented the first responder service. I never represented, and I would challenge anybody to come back with a recording, whether written or recorded, of me ever saying, we need to do this to generate revenue. I have said we were spending money before, whereas now instead of spending money, we are bringing in money. We were spending $20,000 to $30,000 to other to other services, as having a first responder service. It only made sense to, we were basically giving
Yeah.
the money. It made sense to do it. It still makes sense.
Well, on the town floor, they're always hoping that it's a wash paying for itself.
You're right.
Obviously, that's what everybody wants, but it doesn't always work that way.
It can.
Right.
It's the rules of inflation, I guess.
As far as roads go, which one are you getting the most complaints about? This is a rhetorical question.
Bowie Hill, Meadow, Old
Yeah.
Brunswick. Probably Bowie Hill first, Davis,
Bowie Hill.
Bowie Hill, Davis.
Plummer Mill.
Yeah, that's.
Because I've gotten emails on Plummer Mill, even though, I mean, it's a low traffic road, but it's the people that live on it.
But as far as the complaints I'm getting, the majority of right now, Bowie Hill.
Number one's probably Bowie Hill.
Bowie Hill. Yeah.
Bowie Hill from Davis Road to the stream.
Yeah.
Is there anything we can do to get started on that ditching and?
Well,
And-
I'm working on a plan, hoping to have some extra money, but there again, with what Kevin was saying, is how do we get from here to there? And sometimes that requires a Band-Aid here, even though you know it's not the best option, because you know that you're kicking the can down the road, but.
Right, so there's gonna be a certain amount of, we're gonna, suck it up, Buttercup,
Right.
right? We're just gonna have to,
Then 30 or 50 to Band-Aid it,
Right.
and throw it away
that's not-
next year, that's.
you're still paying for a roof on the school that doesn't exist anymore, right?
The other thing is, people are talking about things like that, but most people in town, including myself, don't remember when these roads were much worse than what they are today. I mean, I'm not old enough really to remember a lot of that, but
Spring chicken.
yes, I know. I'm like at least, what, 3 years younger than you?
At least 3.
Calvin, when you prioritize the road, do you go by the worst road, or how is that prioritized? Just so,
Well, right now, what we're going by is, I just have them categorized as rebuilds. So what I'm looking at is, if it's a road that's in a maintenance plan, preventive maintenance plan, I'm trying to keep that road before it, so in other words, I don't want to sacrifice those roads at the expense of, or fix these at the expense of a good road, the worst road. This road is already gone. It's already gone, so let's not say, a lot of times get in this trap of worst first. Let's go get out, this road's completely gone, so let's go after that one next. That's only stands to reason we should go after the worst one first. Well, what happens in that mindset is all your roads that are in the maintenance category now will all end up there. It's a vicious cycle. So you've got to figure out how to maintain your existing roads that are still passable and get your other ones rebuilt. So it's an intricate.
And
If we
that's
could
one of the
do-
reasons why we put in a substantial increase in the budget for Public Works, is to continue the maintenance on the roads. And then as far as the rebuild roads, the program that you use takes into account the condition of the road, how traveled the road is. So if you have two in the same condition and one's much more heavily traveled, that would float to the top. Traffic count.
Number of taxpayers affected.
Yeah.
Is there a school, a fire department? Is there some with public safety?
Right.
Talk to the fire chief.
Well, is there any way we could, I know it's all flat through there, but is there any way we can start to at least show something done on that road? You know,
Working on that.
because I know that's what
So, I mean,
irritate people.
you mentioned, like at the last meeting, you mentioned that what came in from all states was lower than what we had expected, so there may be some additional funds available in the budget that we can try to do something.
The plan is to try to do a heavy cold mix drag shim overlay through that section.
You did that on another road last year, didn't you?
Yeah, well, those were just shims of just wheel ruts. I mean, this would be more significant than that, but
Yeah.
it would be the
The
same.
trouble is, there's no base.
No,
And
actually, that's.
so, yeah,
anything
Anything that we do, other than
Yeah.
ditching, anything that we do on that road is gonna be throwaway. Yeah, I mean,
Well,
but it may be throwaway in 2 years, 3 years,
it's a Band-Aid.
Yeah, tourniquet is throwaway too, but the patient survives.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not always.
Well,
Not always, right? Not always.
I mean, I think that is something to get us 5 years.
Yeah.
So, cost benefit scenario, we'll have something we'll have to discuss.
Can you ditch that properly enough so that,
Lower the water table.
right, because of where it's already sitting in water, basically,
Yeah.
can you
Yeah.
get that deep
Yeah,
enough to
that's
do
what we
some of
would
that?
do.
I mean, there might be a couple spots,
You
but,
best be careful.
Yeah, they would.
well, that's the thing, it's pretty much sitting in a.
Wash the whole
I think
thing
the
away
water
if you take
table's
away.
Right, yeah, it's right
I
there
don't,
now.
and you're not gonna change the water.
Right, that's
I
what I'm
mean,
saying. I
not with the
don't-
budget we have, I can tell you that right.
Right, no, that's what, I don't know. if-
The water table's gonna stay where it's gonna
Right,
be.
if you can't really ditch it, if there's no place to ditch it to get it out of there.
Correct.
That may not
But
be a.
that piece, the piece from Davis down to Cops Pit has enough, there's about a 2.5–3% grade there. It's that piece in the field that's
Right,
marked there.
yeah.
But that piece is the worst of the
Right.
worst of the road, is that first piece.
I think there's
About
patches
2,
on
3,
patches
7.
on more patches.
I guess, just so I'm clear, but the maintenance aspect is priority, but are there, I guess, for lack of better words, and I'm not trying to, is there roads that you or chief or anybody in service deem as a public safety, they're that bad, that are on the priority list?
That's a discussion.
Well, I think that discussion's warranted if we're saying we got roads that bad.
The other end of Davis Road
We've
and
talked
Bow
about-
Hill.
I mean, we've talked about public safety from the standpoint of, is this road significant? If this road wasn't here, to get from here to there, how does that impact your transportation needs for
Sure.
fire? But as far as, is it passable, is it a public safety risk because of its condition? We haven't had that discussion, no.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a discussion we
For-
can have.
For the most part, on most of these roads, the only public safety issue is people going too fast for the road conditions. So the roads are still passable, but you might have to slow down
Sure.
to a much slower speed than you want to go.
Is there a speed limit sign on my road now? You see that?
I guess that's what I was getting
I
at.
pulled up at the Staple Road, it
What
says
deems a road
speed limit
public
sign,
safety
35.
versus,
So,
other than human element?
well,
I mean,
to me, I
36.
would find, if you've got
Been there
a
before.
2-foot sinkhole,
You never notice that.
Sure.
a large
Have you ever
sinkhole,
noticed
that's a public
And
safety.
It's
If
been
you've
there,
got
but
a
I think,
rough road,
did you
that's
recently
not public
replace
safety,
it?
because you can slow down for
Might be a public nuisance.
Right, it's a public nuisance, but
Yeah.
I guess what I was getting at, do we have any roads that we would quote unquote deem as a public safety?
Yeah.
35?
Do you have any roads that you would deem that are basically not safe to pass?
I have a road right now that my plow driver said he didn't dare plow it anymore, said he's not safe. He got stuck in the road. We had CJ got stuck on one of them. The plow, it picked the back of the truck up and it.
What road is that?
That was, we just redid that road now, but I think that was running around Pond Road, I think.
Okay.
Currently,
So,
do we
but
have-
currently, do we have a public safety issue out there, I guess is what I was trying to get at.
Bowie Hill Road, the plow got stuck in it and,
Okay.
it folded its
So is
plow.
that at the top of the list?
Yeah, that must have been
That
worse.
is,
Because if we have a public safety issue, we got an obligation, right? That has to be the fastest that we attack.
that deteriorated quickly this past year.
Hmm.
As I say,
and that's why you're looking at doing some sort of a Band-Aid.
Some type of, there's also, there's politics involved, and there's people that have lived on a certain road that have been promised for, like Davis Road, for example.
There's no politics when it involves public safety.
Well, there is when you, and there may not be at one level, but at another level there
Well,
is.
maybe there is, but I mean, I guess maybe we're just using the word public safety too broad. I was just looking, is there something that the town deems that's dangerous? And if so, is that the highest priority on the list?
If the plow's getting destroyed on that road, it's probably a public safety issue. Because that plow is pretty tough. And you imagine what a car goes through going through that.
I don't know about the car, it's just
Yeah.
a general.
Chief,
Chief, can you get your fire truck down there?
Well, actually, that's what.
Because that's what I would call a public
The only
safety issue.
road that- We do have roads that, we have one road in town that for the last 3 or 4 years, once cold weather sets in and we start to get any frost heaves whatsoever in the summertime with the patches, it's usually not too bad. But Old Brunswick Road, and that actually delays our response to that
Yeah.
125 section of
That is-
town by having to go down to Quaker Meeting House Road, delays our response by anywhere from, what's it take, 3 to 5 minutes to make up that distance, maybe 3 minutes, 5 minutes. So it delays our response because
Sure.
of that. And the other side of it is it actually changes the mileage. But
Yeah.
that road is so bad that if I don't, I mean, we gotta go 5 or 10 miles. If you think about it, in a big truck, you gotta
Yeah.
go 5 or 10 miles an hour across that road.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Even
another
though
way
I
to set back the
lose
swamp.
3 to 5 minutes
Yeah,
going the other way, we're actually gaining town
Yeah.
versus Old Brunswick Road. That's the only one I'd really deem that we don't put, this time of year, we don't put fire trucks. If you watch us, our responses all go to Quaker Meeting House Road and cut across. The other side of it is that adding that time delays the response, but the other piece of it is I actually just talked about the 5 miles from the fire department. If we're deeming that a certain number of months out of the year that road's actually out of service, does that change the mileage to those residences over there? I'm not gonna volunteer that information.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Sure.
No, I
As
understand, but
somebody who probably lives as far away on that road as possible, I appreciate that.
yeah, but I guess you two are really the only. I don't want to generalize here, but I think you two are the only ones qualified that can deem what's public safety.
Absolutely.
So that's why I asked the question, and the question is, if we have a public safety issue in the town, we have an obligation to put that at our highest priority, do we not?
I don't think that we have a road in town that the fire department couldn't get to if there was a fire or a rescue call. I don't think we're that
Okay.
bad,
That's fine.
but
That's fine.
It's just slow.
it's just a little bit slower.
So we have no roads that are public
And as
safety.
far as,
We
as
will
far
get
as,
there.
Yeah.
we're not
Getting back might be a
rebuilding
different
any
story.
miles of road this year.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
We don't have
so,
money to rebuild
Right.
any miles of road.
So-
It's all maintenance this year.
Our road plan is already laid out, it's already been voted on, so, but moving forward, you guys will have you guys are the ones that will choose the roads moving forward, and we'll have the meaningful discussion on what our next year's plans are.
Yeah. No, it just seemed like maintenance was a higher priority. That's why I was asking.
Two spots, one by one, I did.
Trying to just keep our.
It is
roads-
interesting.
So when
Yeah.
you, next meeting, when you bring that survey to us,
Didn't get
then
it.
you can see how they're rated too, and, I mean,
DOT will tell us over and over again, we should not be spending our general road maintenance funds on rebuilding roads. There
Right.
should be a bond, they tell you to bond those, because
well,
once you start using your maintenance funds to
Yeah.
rebuild roads.
Did they
So-
volunteer? the-
Right.
so to be
makes
honest,
sense.
I'd like to get away, we're many, many years away from that.
or have
Get away from
capital.
bonding it, but it should be a separate capital item, because, I mean, anytime you bond, you're paying interest.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Pownell doesn't have a road capital plan, and, we've tried to get that started, but it just
Yeah.
really, there's some friction about how that works. But
So. Oh, thank you.
So we're 8:05 now.
You call it, buddy.
Just throw just
Yeah,
one more thing out. Operational, I think we should do operational planning as well, for the growth of the different aspects in the community and stuff like that, and for the financial end of it.
What do you mean by operational
Well,
planning?
operational, I've talked about my operational budget and the need to, NFPA's, every 10 years, I need to replace turnout gear. The state isn't enforcing it yet, but I think that should be part of our planning process for the future and everything, because that's an expensive ticket.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking $3,000 to $5,000 to outfit a person with a set of turnout gear. Well, if every 10 years, so I've managed to incorporate that in my budget, but one of the other pieces that's coming up is, we have thermal imaging cameras. Yeah, we've got them there, but now we need to maintain a replacement program as the technology changes and they age. SCBA's, I actually have some SCBA's, self-contained breathing apparatus, that I can no longer get maintenance done on. We've been holding out okay. And I have to provide one for each seated position. But anyways, they basically, I have carbon fiber cylinders, which I've put in for a grant. 15 years lifespan on the carbon fiber cylinders, and even if they're still serviceable, I have to take them off the shelf. So I guess from an operational perspective, and the same thing operationally, to me, the operational aspect of it is, the staffing issues and stuff and the coverage issues. To me, these are pieces that, as a community, I should be providing perhaps feedback to the board or input to the board, and then in turn, we should be developing a municipal plan per se. If we're looking at the capital aspect, I think the operational aspect, Kevin talked some about, you do maintenance on this road, that road, and the other thing. And I think this should all be weaved together. Just sort of out there.
Makes sense.
Anything else? Okay, we'll call I don't think we need a motion because this is a workshop. We'll call it, over.